Hi, I'm Luke. Today on Out of Darts, we are going to check out the Aeon Pro, the next great offering from Dart Zone. This thing's pretty incredible. Let's get going. Most of you probably already saw my Nexus Pro review and have seen some of the Nexus Pro parts that I've designed. I love this blaster. I think it is a really incredible offering, and I was very excited to get my hands on the Aeon Pro. Now, it did take me a little while to actually locate one because they kept selling out. I kept going to different Walmarts and finding that they were not in stock. Bricksy lied to me over and over. And no one seemed to be able to locate one, but I finally did get my hands on one for review. As expected, this blaster is another fantastic offering, and I have to say I'm really, really impressed. The Aeon Pro is a standard top prime springer, a little bit like the Retaliator or more recently the Echo, and we'll get back to this in a moment. It's very easy to use. It's simple: prime, fire, and you've got a safety in the back. You've got a removable muzzle in the front, which happens to be identical to the Nexus. This does, of course, mean that the scar barrels and other options on my shop will, of course, be interchangeable between the two blasters, and that's great news. On the back end, you'll notice it's considerably different, but not really that different at all. It's just like someone took this stock point and hacked it right off, and then moved the slide up top. Another great feature that a lot of other reviewers have pointed out, it's also on the back of the box, but it's this D-prime lever up here. And what that allows you to do is, I've already primed one here. I can hit this little D-prime button, and I can actually load another one in for a shotgun blast. So that gave me two, and you can do this multiple times, so you actually can get, I think, 3 darts. Yeah, 3 darts, and it's just peeking out of here, and that will still fire quite well for a really fun little shotgun blast. When I'm in the middle of a game and running around, I just don't have the muscle memory to remember not to prime a second time. Even though I generally would leave my blaster in the primed state when I'm out in the field, it's just one less thing to worry about, so I like that that button's there. Now, if you want to remove it, you definitely can get rid of that lock completely so that it'll always do that. The blaster hits very hard, surprisingly almost the same numbers as the Nexus Pro, despite a slightly different plunger tube and certainly a different spring. Now, that's really welcome to see, because at $25, that makes this blaster an incredible value. There is nothing you can buy out there, not a kit, not a part, not a upgraded blaster, probably not even a used blaster for $25 that's going to perform as well as this blaster does. Now, while I'm talking about performance, it is worth noting this, like its older brother, the Nexus Pro, is not really a toy. It is not meant for young kids. You really shouldn't play without eye protection ever, and it's probably not the most useful blaster around the house because of how hard it hits. I could definitely see this damaging things like a computer monitor or an LCD screen or your television or glassware and other things like that. So certainly don't use this lightly, and be careful when you're using this. Definitely wear eye protection, and it's probably best outdoors or in an arena setting. That said, this blaster is rock solid. The grip is very comfortable. Ergonomically, the blaster is very good. It's reasonably comfortable to hold up here. I still have the same general gripe about the dual mag releases, but I am working on a little shorty one here that will prevent you from doing the accidental magazine adapter removal. I find that I just, out of habit, always want to do this, and I pop the whole adapter out rather than just getting the actual mag out itself. So I think getting rid of that will help alleviate that considerably. That said, that is a really minor grievance for a $25 blaster that shoots above 140 FPS with the included short darts. On top of that, this blaster will seemingly take just about every dart type we typically use. It will fire standard elite darts, it will fire short darts, it will fire long darts, bamboo darts, it will take waffle darts and Connect darts. Really the only thing I can think of that this won't fire is the wider head darts, such as the ones that come with the Crusher from X-Shot. Now that said, those aren't going to fire through any tight bore barrel like this blaster, so that wasn't really much of a surprise. The magwell adapter is also very similar to the Nexus Pro, and that's a really good thing because, again, thank you Dart Zone, this works with Talon mags. So if you've got Talon mags, you can buy more Talon mags, or you can buy the upcoming release of the Nexus Pro, or the Dart Zone Pro mags. Oddly, this doesn't work with the mags from the Mark 1 or the Mark 1.1, but I think that was probably a decision based on the quantity of blasters out there. There are tens of thousands of Talon mags out there, while there are probably only a few thousand of the 1.1 and 1.0 editions. So I think they've wisely hit the widest market, the largest market that they possibly could, and I am so happy to see another super solid offering from Dart Zone. At half the price, it's a little difficult to compare this directly to the Nexus Pro, but you sort of have to because they're practically the same blaster in function. You're moving your prime up here, which of course is never going to be as accurate, but you also get a nice, tight, compact blaster that, at least to an adult, could be magnetically holsterable, possibly some other sort of holster that accommodates the magwell and the magazine itself. But it's a very solid buy at $25, and it would definitely make my top 5 this year for a Christmas list. Let me know if you'd like to actually see a video on top 5. That's a kind of video I've never made before, but I feel like I know a lot more about blasters and about what people are actually buying and interested in, so it might be a different perspective. So I'd love to hear what you think about that in the comments. A few things that are missing. Now obviously you do not get a stock point or buffer tube stock like you do on the other blaster. You don't get the full-length magazine, but who cares? Because honestly, if you're playing at this level, you're playing with short darts. There's no way around it. If you go play with this blaster against the brand new Elite 2.0 Echo, the Echo's getting smoked. My only other minor complaint, which was the same with the Nexus Pro, was that it is also missing any sort of sling attachment point. So I'm going to do one of two things. It's either going to be something that you have to do some cutting and insert in the back here, a little bit like how the T-pull is done for the Chronos that we sell, or I think the easier might actually be to just replace the whole grip. Now, it almost seems a shame to do that because this grip really is quite comfortable for a $25 blaster. I mean, it's better than every single offering from Hasbro this entire year, and when it comes to comfort, at least for my adult hands. And I would suspect that even kids would find some of these sharper edges and other things you're seeing on both the Elite 2.0 line and others just undersized and a little less comfortable than the Adventure Force Pro line. Now that said, it's really cool that Adventure Force made these little panels, so this is actually totally separable from the blaster. I believe they did this both for manufacturing but also for aesthetics, being able to have the color pattern without having to do additional paint. This blaster does use a completely different size spring, and we are, of course, working on springs for it as well. We'll have both a high power and a low power spring. The one thing to note about this blaster when comparing to the Nexus is that you cannot hot swap the springs in seconds. You will have to remove every screw, take the top slide off, take the blaster apart, pull the plunger tube out to swap the spring. That's starting to sound like a lot of work just because of how easy this one is, but in all reality, it's how you mod every single blaster. Luckily for us, Dart Zone has continued with the no solvent weld, nothing's glued together, so it's very easy to get the blaster apart, to maintain it and upgrade it. The blaster has a really solid air seal, and I'm kind of blown away by that. Let's see, we probably shouldn't shoot myself in the in the hand first. But if I just plug this, which I know Drac did in his video too, but I'm actually, I don't know if you can hear that. You probably can because of my mic, but let's try this. You can actually hear it holds the pressure for like a quarter of a second, maybe half of a second, and then I release it with my finger. And that's as good of an air seal as you need. As far as I'm concerned, you're not gonna get any more out of this specific barrel and this breech by trying to seal it better, because it already is virtually airtight. It's not so tight that you can literally stop the plunger tube, but at some point a 0.1% loss in air volume or something when you're firing the dart is not going to affect your velocity. In practice, firing the blaster is really simple. You, of course, do not have slam fire, but you can get a pretty substantial rate of fire out of this, and with its compact form factor, I'm really going to like playing with this blaster. I will say, however, that this blaster, again, is not for kids. The top prime, even with the stock spring, is quite a bit tighter than the Nexus Pro. And that's really just due to leverage and being able to push into your shoulder. It's just a different feel. One other design I think I'm going to work on is a couple variants for the top slide. The top slide design is nice, but it's pretty basic, and I think it could be a little more comfortable. Specifically, I think it could use a little lip to actually hold your hand a little better, especially with a higher spring load. So I'll be working on a little design for that as well, probably over the holidays in reality, because right now our printers are ramping up to be pretty much backed up through the holidays with a new product. And that in mind, I will probably also design a version of this top slide that has a Picatinny rail. And you're going to have to come subscribe and check back in maybe 2-3 weeks to see the reasoning for that, because we have an upcoming product that could possibly mount right on top of there really effectively. You can't talk about this blaster without talking about all of the other blasters that are similar to it. And this is everything from the Game Face brand's variant of the Sita, to the regular Sita, to the Dart Zone Pro Mark 1 and Mark 1.1, to a standard Retaliator, which is where this all started. And that also includes variants like the Recon and the new Echo. This is the latest blaster we've been given that is very, very similar to this blaster. In fact, if I take off this ridiculously short stock that nobody can actually use, at least no adult, because my hands don't go that way. We've got a very similar blaster here. They function very similar. This one shoots about 65-70 FPS. You obviously can mod it. However, parts of this are solvent welded, so it's a real pain to open up and modify. It also has a very poor air seal, and it comes in at $29.99, which means it is $5 more expensive for a far worse, far more flawed, and just a poor value overall from a modding perspective. I guess if you were a kid or a parent and you didn't want your kids to have high-powered blasters because they're playing with all their friends with regular blasters, you might have to get this. But other than that, rest in peace, Echo. I don't think people are going to be buying this blaster to mod, not when this exists out here. I will say I like the shell and coloring, but I'm going to do another video on the Nerf Elite 2.0 series because I'm really, really disappointed with 2020 as far as Hasbro offerings go. Thankfully, Dart Zone and Walmart have done a really fantastic job with this blaster. I give this a 5 out of 5, especially considering the price point. I think it's a home run, and I can't wait to see more of these on the battlefield. Thank you so much for watching. I know I've been doing a lot of review videos recently, and I really don't want this channel to be just reviews. We have a big product launch coming, and we've already filmed most of the video for that, so that will be coming fairly soon, and the Proton Pack boards are hopefully on their way from China, and that product will be coming out pretty soon, along with accompanying really fun videos and backstory on how that came together. We're also moving, and I'll have another video about that because that's a big update in itself. And I'm really, really excited for the holiday season and to see what 2021 can offer, hopefully in the form of actual games in person with all of you, because I miss it so much. Thank you again for watching. Do leave a comment down below if you have any questions about this. We're trying to do a better job of actually monitoring and reading the comments and responding, because I know that's something that I frequently run out of time and don't get to do. Until next time, I'm out of darts.